I guess you know I'm John.
Yeah. And I'm Leah.
So, are you also a teacher?
I am a teacher. I teach fifth grade.
Fifth grade.
Fifth
So,
grade.
general ed.
Yeah. Yep.
So, you get to teach all the subjects:
I get to teach all the subjects except the specials, art, music, PE.
art, music, PE.
Yep.
I'm a middle school technology teacher.
Okay, cool.
So, they would call that specials in elementary, I guess, but to me, it's
Yeah.
just a class.
Yeah.
I suppose we should probably talk about resistance radio, huh?
Possibly. Yeah. Might be important.
But did you listen to a lot of the three channels that they had?
I did. I tried to at first I was trying to bounce around and see how much I could catch from each and then felt like I wasn't catching much of anything. So
Uh-huh.
I ended up listening to a lot of I've got notes over here.
Uh-huh.
Um, like Bob, who's the conspiracy theorist guy.
Right.
So I listened to most of his thing, but didn't get time to listen all the way through Evangeline and Jake. So
Well, if you sit and you listen to one of them, because I listened to Jake mostly, and I
okay.
would, when the music came on, I would pop and listen to the other ones
Right.
and then come back.
Yeah.
I listened all the way to the end of Jake's broadcast. They said, okay, time for me to sign off. And then it went to an Amazon commercial.
Okay.
And then the lady came on. What was her name? Miss Evangeline.
Okay.
They cycle through. I guess each show is an hour.
Okay. That makes sense.
And that's so I listened to all of Jake. Is
Uh-huh.
that right?
Yeah. The
And then
comedy
Miss
guy.
Evangeline came on, and I heard quite a bit of her.
Okay.
And I really enjoyed the conspiracy theorist guy.
Yeah.
I found myself going back to him and kind of sticking with him. And
Yeah.
really, the lights are the Japanese trying to figure this thing out.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, but how did they do that? How did they come up with this? They have these three different people,
Yeah.
and they're all talking about this fake history
Right.
and talking about news and things that all fit together so nicely.
Yeah. And I sort of was sad that I didn't get to listen to all three because I wondered if there was any kind of overlap in what they talked about. I didn't catch any in what I heard, but that was one of my questions.
I felt like like I said, I listened mostly to him, the one guy,
Right.
and then bits and pieces of the other. It seemed like they were really focused on the Nazis,
Right.
and there wasn't a whole lot about the Japanese side.
Right.
That's what they said, and
Right.
it's in my head now because I just was listening to them.
Right. But they also said from Nippon, they said pawns.
Oh,
So when it took me a while to figure out that that's who they were referring to. So it's not like pawns like on a chessboard. It's like PONS. It's like a shortening of that.
like
So
Nippon.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, I didn't pick up on that. So it must have been the conspiracy guy must have done more with that particular
yeah.
vernacular.
He did a lot. Yeah.
That's so funny. I love it. The now the lady,
Mm-hmm.
I happened to click into a thing when she was talking. She was talking about a deputy that was in someplace in Ohio,
Okay.
um, Lorraine Center, Ohio,
Uh-huh.
and that all these people had locked themselves into like a veteran of foreign war Legionnaire Hall,
Okay.
and they ran a flag up the flagpole, and they put out the big loudspeakers, and they were reading the Constitution and playing the Star Spangled Banner,
Huh.
and it went on for like 6 days.
Wow. Okay.
And then finally the police had to come, and then the Nazis showed up.
Right.
And the deputy didn't want to do anything about it. He wanted to try to convince the people to stop.
Right.
But the Nazi leader guy held a gun to his head and told him he had to stop them.
Wow.
And so he ordered the tank to fire through the door.
Right.
And it blew, and then fire again until the building was just obliterated.
Wow.
Now, inside there were children, there were men, there were women, there were veterans of foreign war with missing limbs and missing eyes, and
Right.
just real Americans. The what they call them, the undesirables, is how he referred to them. I guess
Okay.
that was one of those Nazi terms when they
Okay.
were
Yeah, that would make
eliminating
sense.
to leave
Yeah.
just the master race.
Uh-huh.
Um, and after it was all done, the deputy's sitting there. He's like, I just can't stand this anymore.
Right.
And the Nazi pushed the gun against his head and said, now you have to finish it.
Hmm.
And so he said, okay, fire. And they turned the guns on the crowd that had been watching and gunned them all down. And he said he got in his car and he drove away and he headed west.
Yeah.
And he ended up in this bar where he met this lady in Pueblo.
Okay.
I was like, Pueblo? Is that
Whoa.
Pueblo, Colorado? Or is that some other Pueblo? So that connection really, really
Yeah.
touched me.
Yeah.
And it seems almost real, doesn't it?
Yeah. It seems very real. It's interesting.
You kind of feel like with the real separatist ideals we're having in America right now,
Hmm.
with this extreme polarization,
Right.
and which is being exacerbated by like Google and their
Right.
bubble
Yeah.
and the echo thing where your searches just add more and more of the same stuff.
Right. Yeah.
And what's going to happen?
Right.
Oh,
And it's like interesting because there was also an article that I found from the Washington Post
uh-huh.
that was talking about how there were some people who thought that this was actually an anti-Trump thing
Oh,
that was actually being broadcast in terms of that. And to me, it was interesting to think about because they said like they were taking it as an explicit thing and probably hadn't listened to it.
right.
But I was wondering, like, has it sort of just become this mirror on society where it actually is making a statement about the situation that we're in, whether they intended it or not?
Well, the guy who wrote the book
Mm-hmm.
died a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
In
Yeah.
1982, I think they said, when he was 53 years old, he had a stroke.
Right.
I looked him up, and he I forgot his name.
Philip K. Dick.
Philip K. Dick, right.
Yep.
I can see how he's thinking about the Nazis and about the war that, gosh, he was born in 28, so he lived right through the middle of that. He would have been raised during the Second World War, formative years during
Right.
the Second World War, so he would have really been worried about Hitler.
Right. Yeah.
So maybe this is what he was worried about.
Yeah.
And now it's being echoed,
Uh-huh.
to use that word in a different way.
Yeah.
And it kind of is making sense, except this time the Nazi
Right.
is inside instead of coming from outside.
Right. Yeah. Well, history loops, doesn't it?
It does.
So
The I wrote some notes down too. I'm looking through my mess going, I got so excited about some of this stuff.
yeah.
You know what? I was watching that thing that the video you presented, and it said there were 18 original tracks that they had made specifically for this album and whatever. Yeah. And I don't think I heard all of them.
I didn't, for
but
sure.
I bet I heard 12 of them, 12 of the songs.
Right.
And some of them are, covers of old songs.
Yeah.
And some of them are original work that sound like they came from the late 50s, early 60s.
Yeah.
And because this is supposed to be 1962.
Mm-hmm.
And I really liked the music.
I did too. I really liked the music.
But this music it got me.
Yeah.
And particularly the remixes sounded so much sadder than the originals.
Yeah. And that idea of mood and tone. What was I looking at? There was some other connection, and I don't know, it might have been one of the options to click on down at the bottom that talked about that mood and that tone and how they chose the music.
Oh, yeah.
Like how they decided to do that.
Well, I don't know that it talks about it specifically in there, but it definitely has a lot of biographies and a lot of information about the artists.
Yeah.
Maybe in one of those, maybe you clicked on one that talked about why they added that.
Or the other thing that I actually read was the NPR's music branch on their website covered it as an album.
Oh.
So I bet that's where I saw it.
That's neat. I'll have to go look at that.
Yeah. And it would be interesting to just listen to just the music.
Right.
Without the stuff in between.
I wonder, the stuff in between kind of set the tone for how the music was supposed to make you feel.
Yeah.
They didn't say it, but
Right.
it was the tone of the presentation and the way they talked, and then the music came on and really enhanced that tone.
Hmm.
I wonder if that's why it works so well, is that it's perfect.
Yeah, it's all building on each other.
I guess perfect is a relative term, but it's very good.
Yes.
Oh, so, um, gosh, I guess we've really talked a lot about what we liked about this.
Yeah.
Is there anything about it that you disliked?
Um, well, I disliked sort of that dissonance at the beginning of trying to be able to hear it all and not
Oh,
feeling like I was necessarily in control. I couldn't pause one channel and jump to another or
oh,
something like that. So I felt like I was missing things as I was trying to explore.
wouldn't it have been nice to know that it was a loop
Oh, yeah.
and that you could have just stayed on one of them and listened to it for 3 hours and heard everything?
Yeah.
Because I didn't pick that up until I had listened for over an hour.
Right.
I was like, hey, wait, I heard this already on that
Yeah.
other station.
And an hour that's a commitment, like to get all the way to that point.
Well, I admit, I didn't sit here on my comfy office chair and listen the entire time. I got up and went and got a glass of water and came back, and
Yeah.
just like I was listening to the radio, I was trying to
Yeah.
experiencing it. And I say that in a very, haughty and, you know, very, very eclectic manner. I was trying to experience it as if it was a radio show. No, I got a little bored
Yeah.
and decided I
I
needed
need
a
a
little
break.
break,
I need a brain break.
and I couldn't pause it.
Yeah.
So I took a walk and got a drink of water. But it
Although,
sounds very enlightened, doesn't it?
yeah. I did notice you could switch it off, but I don't think even that paused it.
I think the stream continued.
Okay.
Yeah, when I turned it off to watch one of the videos, because I was listening to it when you sent the link,
Okay.
and I just turned the volume off and clicked on your link and watched that video, and then went back
Right.
and turned it back on, and it picked up. And that was after I had already switched to the second hour, so I recognized I was listening to the same thing again. I
Okay.
was like, yep, it very definitely is the same.
Yeah.
So I guess really, when it comes down to it, if they were talking for a few minutes in between the songs,
Hmm.
then they had the song, and songs are what, 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes
Yeah.
usually. And they played 10 songs, then they really only had to come up with half an hour of dialogue,
Yeah.
maybe even a little less if they, because there's that point in the middle where they say Amazon Productions and
Right.
the man in the high castle or whatever it
Yeah.
was.
Uh-huh.
Isn't it funny you can remember silly things like the deputy in the bar in Pueblo,
Yeah.
but you can't remember the name of the stupid show?
Well, that's because the deputy is such a story.
Yeah, it
Like
was.
there's so much connected to it.
Was there anything like that that really hung out in your brain?
Um,
Anecdote about the deputy, but
yeah. For me, there was a little section like because I listened to it a little bit last night, and I think it was on the Jake one, the comedy one.
uh-huh.
And he was interviewing somebody, and then that person, like somebody came into the house or something,
Oh, that
and
must
the
have been when I was
interview
getting the
like
water.
stopped. Yeah. So that like that interrupted interview was interesting to me, partly because I read All the Light We Cannot See, which is a book about like two kids that are the same age, one in Germany and one in France during World War II.
Oh,
And one in Germany ends up being in the army during the war and going, like he's really gifted in terms of radio stuff. And he ends up going in this little special group that stops any kind of resistance radio that's going on. And so it talks in the book about how they go in and they interrupt people when they're on the air because they're tracking like their broadcast. And so that's what I thought of, and that's probably why that part stuck with me.
so in the story, did the one boy actually break in on the other boy?
No, so it was a
Oh,
girl in France and a boy in Germany. And so the girl's uncle was broadcasting, and the German boy got very close and then chose not to send like the henchmen or whatever in to attack, but they did meet very briefly, and he realized that he had let her go, and he was very happy with himself that she had gotten away. So
ah,
yeah.
I like that. So he had a guy came in and interviewed,
Yeah.
but it wasn't somebody who was trying to stop him. They just sort of wandered through.
Well, it sounded like maybe they were. I mean, I guess I don't know. They weren't in the same room.
Oh,
So he was interviewing somebody in a different space, and then that interview just got cut off. There was like a clatter and a crash. It got cut
oh,
off, and then Jake, I think it was Jake, was like, "Well, I don't know what that was about. I guess we'll go to a song."
oh. So I wish I would have heard. I'm gonna have to go back and listen now.
Yeah, and I'll have to listen to make sure it was Jake and not Bob.
Well, I'm not saying I was out of the room for 2 minutes, so it could have happened on the one I was actually listening to. But imagine how much more effective it would be trying to crush resistance if you could actually find them during a broadcast.
Yeah.
And attack them, gunfire, crashes and booms, and then dead air.
Yeah.
And now he's gone. They got him. They tracked him. They figured it out.
Yeah.
So if you were the bad guys trying to stop the good guys,
right,
that would be the way to do it.
It would be.
Oh, I gotta watch this show.
Yeah. I watched one episode, I think, over my winter break, and then I realized it's not the kind of show you can watch and grade at the same time. I didn't continue on. Maybe this summer.
Watch and grade. I don't even try to do that anymore. Gosh, I was watching the previews, the lead-ins, the trailers, and it really looked interesting.
Yeah.
But I'm already, I did those Korean dramas, the K dramas.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
The girl who could see smells. I still can't believe it's real.
That's such a strange show concept.
But I've watched about 30 or 40 of them now.
Wow.
Not the same group, not the girl who could see smells. I've gone and looked at different ones. That's still my favorite one, maybe because it was the first one I really watched.
Yeah.
But it's like, these are really bad. It's like 70s television, the Wonder Woman and the Charlie's Angels, and it's that kind of crappy show that was so good.
Yeah. There's some of them that are time travel back to a particular time that I guess is a really important time.
Uh-huh.
I don't know if you've seen any of those Korean dramas.
No.
Those are my favorites.
I've stuck with the teen angst ones.
Oh, yeah.
It reminds me of my childhood.
No, I like the time travel ones.
Time travel. I'll have to do that. I'll have to get there with that too. But hey, that kind of fits in with this.
Yeah.
Because you think of like the butterfly effect.
Right.
And I've heard a couple different things, like, the flap of a butterfly wing can send a ripple around the world and change things.
Yeah.
But I remember more that Bradbury story, I think.
Okay.
Where they make the platform that they go back in time and they step on this platform.
Oh, yeah, like
on the platform.
Uh-huh.
And the guy steps off the platform and squashes a moth.
Yeah.
And when he comes back, everything's changed and the people are like lizard people instead of mammal people. And that one butterfly made that big of a change.
Right.
And it's just the right butterfly, I guess, or right moth. And that's kind of like this where we're picking up here, because I guess we didn't drop the bomb on Nagasaki or Hiroshima,
right?
But they dropped one on DC.
Yeah.
And so that changed the way the war went, and it's that one thing that did it.
Right.
Oh, that's an interesting correlation.
It is.
That's kind of like how you could tie it into like, oh, you couldn't do it with fifth graders.
Probably not.
This is too grown up. This whole show is way too grown up for them.
Yeah.
I could do it with eighth graders though.
Oh yeah. And definitely high school.
Yeah, I don't do high school. I'm too much like a high school kid. I can't do that. I may be 100, but I'm too much like them. Yeah. But the idea of an alternate history.
Yeah.
I mean, what would a fifth grader? I mean, I teach sixth graders, so I kind of have an idea.
Right. Yeah.
Would they really be able to say, "Gosh, what if Trump hadn't won? What if it had been Hillary?" I don't know that they would have really understood that.
I know. I know that they reflect their parents' political views a lot in what
Oh,
they
sure.
say. I've seen a lot more anger from them than I have ever seen, like in terms of that, like because a lot of them are immigrants or their parents are immigrants and stuff like that. So,
Right.
there's a lot of fear behind, some of the comments that I hear them say that they don't think that I'm hearing
Right.
sometimes. But I don't know that they would be able to take history and tweak it like that. But we do have to teach them how to take a story and change the point of view.
Oh,
Think about
okay.
how that changes the story. So it's like a step before actually changing the plot. They're supposed to keep the plot mostly the same, but just change the perspective.
Right.
Versus this is actually take one plot event and twist it and go on a whole different
Right. An
path.
alternative reality.
Yeah.
Fake news.
Yeah.
See how I cleverly tied that into the topic of the week? I wonder what else they could do. Like, oh, well, but maybe a story they're not familiar with. And you just sort of stop.
Uh-huh.
How does it end? And let
Yeah.
them figure it out.
Yeah.
I used to do that when I taught reading, was
Oh, cool.
predict the ending.
Yeah.
Because, predicting is good readers predict what they think is going to come next.
Mm-hmm.
And then they either read it and then go, oh, hey, I was right. Or they go, oh, wow, I was so wrong. It went this way instead. And those plot twists are what make reading exciting.
Yeah.
Wow, it sounded so complex when we started. And that just sounds like that's kind of easy. Maybe it's because we've been doing it for a while, huh? Hey, I'm looking at the questions to make sure that I answer questions.
Yeah.
I ask the questions.
Right.
And biggest takeaway, that's the last big thing.
Right.
I asked plenty of other questions because that was just fun.
Yeah.
But what's the thing that you're carrying away from this experience with this resistance radio?
Yeah. So I'm looking at my notes because I thought about that question beforehand. And my notes actually were two things, like the controversy, the lesson about the controversy that swirls around it in terms of how people perceived this whole project was one of them. But the other one was actually the idea of having that awareness of the like commercial aspect behind this, because it's obviously very commercially driven and it's geared to get you into this story,
right?
So that you'll buy your Amazon Prime and watch the TV show.
Yeah.
So just like, because we've been talking about that a little bit in some of the discussions that we've had, like making sure kids are aware of what's behind what you consume.
Right. That is important. I guess I didn't go quite that pragmatically looking at it. I just kept going back to that transmedia unit that we did a few weeks ago, where it's like, here's this TV show. Wow, that's so cool. Oh, wait, I can click on this radio station.
Yeah.
And I can listen to people from that when I want to.
Right.
I can hear their little stories, and I wonder, I have to watch the show to find out if these radio broadcasters are in the show. And if you get to find out a little bit about them.
Yeah.
That's maybe they are, maybe they're just on the radio.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's interesting. Well, and then that 3-minute video did show that it went beyond just this website and the streaming show. It branched into all kinds of other places.
Right. The hashtag. And you talked about NPR, then people thinking it was a Trumpism.
Mm-hmm.
And there's some sort of a ploy with that. And no, you said it was a anti-Trump statement.
Yes.
But that's when we went into the fact that it was written before 82.
Yeah.
It really couldn't have been an anti. Well, I guess Trump was doing stupid things back then. Maybe it was.
I don't know.
Wow. I wish I could come up with something this brilliant.
Yeah. Wouldn't that be amazing?